Hello and welcome to the CVR English news channel. This is Sudhakar Sharma with the big story of the day. Sky watchers are in end of the year treat. What has become known popularly as the Christmas star is especially vibrant planetary conjunction, easily visible in the evening sky over the next few weeks as the bright planets Jupiter and Saturn come together. Today has been really very spectacle because it's a phenomenon which happens very rarely. That too, the night spectacle was last seen 800 years ago. So this is something very, very spectacle, and people everywhere witness this rare celestial phenomenon, be it in the cities like Kolkata or in Hyderabad or in any other metro. People took the help of the local planetariums and had the vision, wonderful vision of the very densely gaseous planets Jupiter and Saturn coming along their axis in very close and running parallel to each other.
Is a celestial alignment of any two objects which may or may not be very close to each other, but they appear in the sky very close to each other. And this is possible when the solar system bodies which are moving in our orbit with reference to the background stars. The conjunction on December 21st that is going to happen in 2 days' time is a very special and a very rare event in itself, because this time two solar system bodies, two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are going to be very close to each other. The angular distance, that is the distance of separation between the two bodies, will be 0.1 degree. That means your thumb is about 1 degree, and so you can imagine it's about 10th part of it that you will be seeing them very close. To say that most of the events happen during daytime, it's just that we are unlucky. We are slightly lucky this time because it's happening in the twilight, evening twilight, and we will be witnessing this event just after sunset. The special thing about this conjunction is that it is roughly 0.1 degree away. So even with a small beginner's telescope that some of you may have, some of your audience may have, can just point it towards one of the objects, and they can see the conjunction.
Indian astronomers like Aryabhatta, Varamihira and Bhaskara were the first to notice such a kind of celestial phenomenon before the Westerners could ever imagine, because the Indian astronomy and astrology have gone far into excellence before the Western could really catch up. While the Western scenario starts at 1610, 16,010 Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei 1610 pointed his telescope to the night sky, discovering the four moons of Jupiter, Io, Europa, Ganymede and Callisto. In that same year, Galileo also discovered a strange oval surrounding Saturn, which later observations determined to be its rings. These discoveries changed how people understood the four reaches of our solar system.
Is a celestial alignment of any two objects which may or may not be very close to each other, but they appear in the sky very close to each other. And this is possible when the solar system bodies which are moving in our orbit with reference to the background stars. The conjunction on December 21st that is going to happen in 2 days' time is a very special and a very rare event in itself, because this time two solar system bodies, two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are going to be very close to each other. The angular distance, that is the distance of separation between the two bodies, will be 0.1 degree. That means your thumb is about 1 degree, and so you can imagine it's about 10th part of it that you will be seeing them very close. To say that most of the events happen during daytime, it's just that we are unlucky. We are slightly lucky this time because it's happening in the twilight, evening twilight, and we will be witnessing this event just after sunset. The special thing about this conjunction is that it is roughly 0.1 degree away. So even with a small Bigness telescope that some of you may have, some of your audience may have, can just point it towards one of the objects, and they can see the conjunction in the 1 meter. In the evening hours, it becomes a little.
And 13 years later, in 1623, the solar system's two giant planets, Jupiter and Saturn, traveled together across the sky. Jupiter caught up to and passed Saturn in an astronomical event known as Great Conjunction. This has been really spectacle today, and everyone really was amazed as the two planets caught up with each other and were moving parallelly. You can imagine the solar system to be a racetrack with each of the planets as a runner in their own lane and the Earth toward the center of the stadium, said one of the popular astronomers in the Planetary Science Division at NASA headquarters in Washington. From our vantage point, we will be able to see the Jupiter on the inside lane approaching Saturn all the month and finally overtaking it on December 21st. The planets regularly appear to pass each other in the solar system, with the positions of Jupiter and Saturn being aligned in the sky above once every 20 years. What makes this year spectacle so rare then? It has been nearly 400 years since the planets passed this close to each other in the sky, and nearly 800 years ago, since it was really 800 years since the alignment of Saturn and Jupiter occurred at night, as will be for 2020, allowing nearly everyone around the world to witness this great conjunction, which is really a marvelous celestial spectacle. And well, the closest alignment will appear just a tenth of a degree apart and last for few days. On 21st, that is today, they will appear so close that a pinky finger at arm's length will easily cover both planets in the sky. The planets will be easy to see with unaided eye by looking towards the southwest just after sunset, because they are clearly visible, and the rare spectacle is possible because it is happening at the night time. And once it occurred 400 years back, but it was during not the night time, so it was not visible. And this time the earth is really very fortunate that it is taking place at the towards the evening, so that everyone can have this magnificent view. Interestingly, from our vantage point of view from Earth, the huge gas giants will appear very close together, but they will remain hundreds of millions of miles apart in space. And while the conjunction is happening on the same day as the winter solstice, the timing is merely a coincidence, because this time it is coinciding with the winter solstice also. Based on the orbits of the planets and the tilt of the Earth, the conjunctions like this could happen on any day of the year depending on where the planets are in their orbits, says the famous astronomer troupe of NASA. The date of the conjunction is determined by the positions of Jupiter and Saturn and the Earth in their paths around the Sun, while the date of the solstice is determined by the tilt of the Earth's axis, because the Earth's axis also forms an important criterion in deciding or determining the date of this great conjunction. The solstice is the longest night of the year, so this rare coincidence will give people a great chance to go outside and see the solar system. So this has been a real spectacle, and it has been the end of the year treatment, because we have all been fed up with this COVID and other allied effects upon the entire humanity, and now the celestial has been giving us such a wonderful thing that we can never forget during our lifetime, because next time it will happen only around 2080, it is said, according to the experts. Years ago, Indian astronomers were first to notice this strange phenomenon of great conjunction, because our Indian heritage science and our Vedic science have gone to that extent that they could exactly say that it is really the heliocentric theory, and they could also prove so many facts which the astronomers of the later date only could point out little later, because Indian science was marching far ahead than the other people, and especially the Western people who are very late to come into astronomy. But history has shown it that the Westerners were the first to notice all this phenomenon. But actually and in reality, Indians have moved far ahead, especially in the case of astronomy and astrology, and they have made marvelous discoveries. Like you have almost all the theories of the modern astrophysics being given by our astronomers of the past, and India should really, especially the youth of the country, should really realize the great importance regarding its own teachers before going across the teachers of other nations, because we have to pay tributes to the masters who have given us that particular wisdom through the knowledge of the Vedas, and they could really pour out that wisdom in plenty to the whole world. Indians were the first people to promote the theory of heliocentrism, because Indians came to the conclusion through their insights and intuitive power that everything moved around the sun, and the sun was taken as the thing around which everything moved. So this kind of heliocentricity was first observed, and it was really propagated by the Indian astronomers. And previous to that, everyone thought that the earth was only flat, but Indians understood that earth is a kind of spheroid. So even that spheroidicity or the sphericity of this earth was also discovered. They said that everything has to move on in the form of circles. So if you start from one end of the earth, you would really reach the other part if you move unhindered. All these things have been brought to the notice of the world through the wonderful works of our Indian astronomers. But India has to realize, it has to wake up, and it has to take note of all the tremendous progress which was made in the past, and it has to learn from the hereditary. It should learn from the masters, and it should carry forward this legacy to the wellness and for the service of the mankind, because the sages are the rishis who discovered all these truths. They gave out, they did not patent anything unlike the Westerners. They just gave out because they wanted the promotion of the welfare of the humanity only, and did not think about the name and fame for themselves. That is why so many works are there without even the authorship inscribed upon it. We have to really garner all the efforts to gain such works and promote the ancient wisdom. And now if we ask ourselves what this celestial phenomenon convey to us, it has got implications both ways. That is, scientifically it says that the world we see is really vast, the outer space is really extraordinarily vast, spread into several galaxies, and what we see in our own galaxy has got so many things which are really unfounded, and lot of efforts are required to understand what is within our own solar system. So it shows how far we can reach. There is a scope to reach endlessly. And what does it convey in the form of a spiritual dimension? It has got an implication spiritually also. It shows how finitely we are on a particular very small droplet, or we can call it a very small dust particle. The earth is just a dust particle compared to all these celestial things, and if we keep owning this small finite particle of earth, and if in that also if we keep quarreling about ourselves, it makes no sense at all, because we have to understand that we are in a very vast world, and if we can relate ourselves to this extensive medium, definitely our ethical dimension will come up, and there will be no more a kind of duality between beings. Everyone will feel that we inherit a common substratum and we try to promote towards the betterment of it. And well, we have witnessed this rare celestial spectacle today, and this brings us to the end of our big story of the day. So this is Sudhakar Sharma signing off. Until we meet again.